Hello.
Hey, Kelsey.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Hey, Kelsey. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully people are
Absolutely.
starting to watch now. But we have Sandro and Stanley from
Absolutely.
CDC is what we'll call it, but it's not what you think.
Right.
I'm sure you guys are hearing a lot of that word right now. But so they are going to talk to us all about film composing and kind of how they got their group started. Stanley, if you want to start talking about this Composer Diversity Collective group, I believe you started it. Is that correct?
Well, I didn't start it. I was there at the beginning. Michael Abels and Sandro, help me here.
Daniel Hart.
Daniel Hart, my man. They kind of started it, and we had been for years, for years, we kind of been talking like a couple guys. We should get together, because in the film and TV business, there's only it's predominantly a male dominated field. So we go to all these events, and there'd be 2 or 3 of us there, and we say we got to get together. We got to get together. And me and Kurt Farquhar, our man who's been in forever with us, and he would say, "Yes, damn, let's get together. Let's get together." And then one event, the last event, right before we started, I met Michael Abels. This is right when what was it? Was it his first feature? And
Get Out. Yeah.
Get Out. I said, man, we got to get together. He said, we're going to start the CDC in a couple of weeks. I'll send you an email. So it was perfect timing. And I'll just go down the list here and kind of introduce to everybody what the CDC is.
Yep.
It's a Los Angeles-based multicultural collective comprised primarily of composers of color that work in film and TV and multimedia, basically.
And we are, if you guys want to learn more about that, obviously we're going to talk more about it, but we will share links to the website if anyone wants to peek and go look at that and find out more information. But so I guess why was the group created? What is the purpose of it? The mission, all of that.
Okay. Well, the group was created because the film and TV music, has a history of underutilizing and undervaluing composers of color. So in 2018, the CDC was created to bring awareness and to help expose the industry to the underrepresented group of composers. And at the same time, a place to kind of create some community for us, Sandro
Awesome.
might want to.
Sandro, how long have you been in the CDC?
So also from the start. I mean, not the starting conversations like Stan did, but like the first event that Michael Abels and Daniel Hart organized, just to bring a bunch of composers together and talk about the possibility of creating this group, which happened around 2.5 years ago, if my memory serves me right. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, like Stan is saying, it's all about first us recognizing the fact that I think like at the top of the film music industry, it isn't very diverse at all. It is not representative of our country's population. It tends to be very homogeneous, and our group exists to try to give visibility, first of all, to composers of color. I mean, there are a lot of composers, extremely talented composers, like Stan mentioned, Kurt Farquhar, one of the busiest TV composers of the past 20-30 years, and not a lot of people know about him. and also, you know, like, of course, composers in all of the stages of our careers, but also just like generating opportunities, um, letting the content creators know that we exist, and becoming, you know, a resource for them to say, because, you know, like, I mean, we've always heard from studios, like, you know, yeah, we want to hire diverse composers, where are they?
Right.
And now there's no excuse, you know, like, there's the Composer Diversity Collective. We have a member directory. You can, like, listen to our music, our see our credits, go to our websites, and know about us. And so yeah, you know, we want to be that kind of resource, and it's working out great. You know, we've had a lot of events with major studios, you know, networking events with our members,
Right.
and their producers, their creative, their executives, and also just like, you know, indie filmmakers who reach out, you know, learn about us and reach out and say, hey, you know, I have this film, I have this documentary, I have this opportunity that I would like to consider a composer of color, you know, which is also like important to say. It's the
Right.
idea, you know, it's just having our foot at the door.
Right.
It's not about like trying to get anything, you know, because of our background or whatever, you know. It's just trying to get opportunities, you know, like
Mhm.
trying to make it
Just want to
easier.
be considered like everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's it.
So since you guys kind of started this and joined it, have you noticed more opportunities coming in work-wise because of the group?
Uh, I think things are changing slowly. You
Yeah.
know, there's we have some members that are extremely busy right now, and then and then there's some of us that it's kind of status quo, and but things are looking up. You know, people are paying attention, which is good. A lot of folks in the industry, a lot of networks are starting to network with us a little bit and reach out. We've had Zoom calls with, you know, a lot of network execs and music departments on, and some of them kind of knew us and some of them just never really met us. So it's kind of cool to get to know them, you know, and they're, you know, people are reaching out. I think we're on our way. You know, we have a ways to go though. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
Great.
for sure. I mean, I think that th- th- there is a shift right now happening for sure. I mean, I see it with the our sisters at the Alliance of Women Film Composers, and I see how, I mean, studios, they are in the um, risk management business. You know, a lot of times it's not about it. It's just that they don't want to give opportunity to anyone new.
Hmm.
You know, regardless or of your background, they just want to go with a safe bet. And what I'm seeing right now with the noise that the Alliance of Women Composers are doing, and what we are doing, they're starting to open up. You know, they're starting to give more opportunities. They're starting
Right.
to let yeah, like new composers first of all, and then, you know, composer of color and women composers just like take on some of those projects, you know, that are coming out on TV and film. And I see it with yeah, composers like of course Michael Abels, but also like you know, people like Amanda Jones, who
Right.
has been doing a lot of great stuff for TV lately. Chris Bowers, and you know, so there's I think there's a change happening, and opportunity is happening for us.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you
Absolutely.
guys are both based in LA, but can people join if they live elsewhere? How does that work?
Yeah, so you can join from anywhere. I mean, you just go to the website and apply for membership. Um, thank you. and yeah, and so yeah, there's a whole form that you have to fill in, and but yeah, it's not location based. Of course, if you're in LA, you're gonna take more advantage of your membership. But right now, I mean, since we're all quarantined,
Locked
and
down anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
so
great time to join right now. Great time to get
our
in.
our events right now are all through Zoom. So, you know, it's you can be a member from anywhere in the world. It's just important to know that, you know, like most of our more active ways to find opportunities and to create visibility for our composers are towards, you know, our aim towards composers who are in the minority, you know. So in general, like BIPOC, you know, people of color, um because that's what we're trying. It's not about anyone specific within our group, but it's about just like changing the environment, you know. It's about having more composers who are successful and you know are in the minority historically, and have been underrepresented. But still, like, anyone can join, and like, if you believe in our initiatives, if you believe in what we're doing and that it is important, you can join, and you can, even if you don't qualify for the background requirements, I mean, you can still be a member, and you can support us, and you can find community in our group, you know. Which I think it's one of the most valuable things I've gotten out of the Composer Diversity Collective, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
Absolutely.
an amazing place to learn from like-minded people.
Exactly, yeah.
It's really,
What are some of the benefits in joining the group or the membership?
For sure. So I mean, you wanted to jump in, Stan?
yeah, I was just going to say benefit.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, there's quite a few, but the one thing that I think, just as a guy that's been around over 20 years, one of the main benefits is the community. I mean, when we have our gatherings, man, it's especially for someone who's been in the business for a while, it's so cool just to meet all the veterans and then the new guys that are doing a lot. And then we all share stories, we all share gear, what we're doing. I mean, if you need an orchestrator to help you out, there's 7 people there that'll just do it on the fly, and you'll work it out. You know,
Yeah.
it's really cool. And then the other part of it is that we offer some discounts through some manufacturers, and we're kind of working on one with Adam.
Yes,
And
we are.
so just so you know, hey, if we understand if you're not getting the budgets that you need, but you need the gear, you know, and you got to be competitive. So that's another benefit. And Sandro probably has a few more up his sleeve.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, everything that Stan said, being part of a group that is working hard to, one of the things that we haven't mentioned, which is to like bring down the stigma of of the other composer, you know, like, for instance, I'm from Venezuela, you know. I'm Latin American, and I faced, like, throughout my career here in LA, a lot of people who assume that my music is necessarily going to sound Latin American, you know. And it still happens, you know, like, and sometimes it's hard to even get the opportunity to demo for a cool project I want to demo for,
Mhm.
because they think, oh no, but this is not
Right.
Latinx related, so, you know, you should go for those projects, and it's
Right.
not, it doesn't
Well,
make any sense. I mean,
LA Hollywood would like they like to pigeonhole people, you know. Like,
yeah.
you do that, you do half-hour TV, there's no way you're going to be able to do a documentary until you demo for one, and they go, "Oh, okay. So you
Yeah.
can handle that. All right. Well, I didn't really want to say that. I thought you might be able to do it, but so that's part of the game, you know."
Yeah, so, you know, working, the satisfaction of working towards uh, bringing down these barriers, is very important. Community, like Stan said, I've met and become friends with so many like-minded individuals who are going through the same I'm going through, who are in different stages of their career. Some who are up ahead and help me out and give me a hand, and, you know, and advise me and teach me. Some others who are younger than me, and or just like beginning their careers, and then they look for mentorship from me, and or from us.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, mentorship is an
The big one.
important thing.
Yeah.
And also just being part of these networking, you know, mixer events that we have, you know, generates the opportunity to meet people, you know, executives from major studios, and you know, creatives, producers, etc. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool group. I mean,
Yeah.
you should check
Great.
it out for sure.
All right. So we are going to take some Q&A questions, and if anyone watching has questions, please write in and ask them. We have a couple. Which tips would you give new composers who would like to make music for film/TV?
Oh, tips. I would say, it's just like any other profession. If you want to be a mechanic, you got to hang out with mechanics, man. You got to get around folks that are doing what you're doing, learn as much as you can, if that includes education, if you can enroll in film school. If you can't, then you got to be around guys who have been to film school or who are working, and you got to be there and you got to hang and just learn as much as you can and try to, understand what the business is all about and then try to create your own voice. So you're not just always trying to imitate somebody, you're trying to establish your own sound, which is ultimately one of the things that may get you hired because the competition is pretty stiff.
Yeah.
So you got to have something to say.
Yeah, no, I think that's crucial. Everything and especially about the having your own voice is super important. Also, just like recognizing that in order to work, even from the very start, you have to constantly be evolving, which means number one, studying and never stop studying. Like always, try to be the best you can be. Try to learn new things. There's so much to learn in music. About programming, about sounds, about speakers, about gear in general. Learn to play a new instrument. Learn some new harmonic concepts, something that you don't know about counterpoint or about melody or about rhythm. So like you have to be constantly evolving so that your sound doesn't get stuck, and you're always doing something better. Study the trends. What are other composers doing? How you can make your sound be current but not be the same that everyone else is doing, like so like in order to be original for real, you have to know what others are doing, and make sure that your sound it's not original only because it's dated. It has to be modern and current. So yeah, I mean it's all about staying up to date, with everything that is happening in the industry, with your sound, with your gear.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to try not to, it's easy to get in the habit of using the same sounds over and over again. I mean, piano, something like that is basic, but of course that's where you start. But you just some days you got to go in and go, okay, I'm not going to even use that software. I'm going to try something else and I'm going to see what's going to come out of that, and then, try different things, different voices that maybe you don't typically use. And you just gotta keep your mind open, man, and be consistent and professional, and it's a lot of work. Film and TV is a lot of work. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of technical stuff, and it's I mean, I came from the record business, which is some technical stuff, but things are a little more laid back. And film and TV, the composer's got to be 2 steps ahead of whatever's going on. Whether it's if there's some playback on stage, if it's a network show, if there's playback going on, you need to know about that. You need to get involved in that because eventually you're going to have to deal with that. And if you don't get involved in that, you're going to really be working hard to try to make something work in post. Now, some guy decides to sing on the set. He wants to sing some little thing he made up, and maybe you need to be there to get him in tempo, and maybe have a tempo track so we can make this thing work. They want to put it in part of a song. There's a lot. So you have to be on top of all of it. If you're going to be in it, you got to be in it. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's a lot. I can't imagine. I love this question. How did you guys get your first placement?
Cool.
Sam, go for it.
Okay, so I'll start. My first placement. When I got to LA, I had a friend who was assisting a composer. This is a very busy composer in the unscripted world. So he writes a lot of music for reality shows, for documentaries, and that kind of thing. And then my friend called me one day and said, "Hey, you wanna come over, and you know, my boss is in need of a keyboard player. Do you want to like gospel organ and stuff? Do you have some of those chops? And I said, like, you know, kind of, but sure, I'll go give it a try. And I went and recorded the gospel organ. The his boss was happy. And then he said, hey, do you want to write a couple of tracks in this style for this show that I'm doing? And I'm like, sure. And you know, 12 years later, it's one of the people that, you know, from time to time I'll work with. You know, that composer is David Steinberg. I love the guy. And yeah, I mean, we co-wrote the score for a documentary that won a daytime Emmy, you know, 4 years ago. And yeah, it's been one of the people that I collaborate with the most for the past years, you know. So yeah.
Awesome. That's killer.
Oh wow, my first placement. I'm looking here in the Wayback File,
Right.
and I had my first placement was in for a Disney movie called First Kid.
Wow.
You know, and it was a thing that happened. It was a call going out for something. And in the beginning, like I would hear about a call for something, and we still do that now. I would write it overnight, man. You know what I mean? Ever from top to bottom, write lyrics, live drums,
Cool.
call a guitar player friend. We were kind of doing virtual stuff back, kind of, but you know, in LA, there's 10 guitar players on your block. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
call somebody over, and just you know, I heard about that thing, and I wrote a thing, got vocals on it, and sent it in the next day, and you know, they kept playing it, and next thing I know, hey, it's in, it's sticking. Everybody's so used to listening to this thing, they're just gonna, it's working, it's all working, it's all good. But you know, yeah, that's all about, like I said before, being ready to put in the work and stay up all night and write the thing, man,
Yeah.
and get it done, you know, and try to be contemporary, kind of know what find out as much information as you can about the project, because if you know what it's really all about, if you know who's featured in the project, then you kind of have some idea of what it's all about, and you know, learn the storyline or whatever it is, and you just got to go for it, put it out there.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna ask some questions for you guys, coming from me. But if anyone else has questions that's watching, please feel free to ask. What's it like to be a film and TV composer in LA?
Want to start?
Well, go ahead, Sandro.
All right. Cool. So, what is it like? It's definitely, I mean, LA, I feel it's the only place where I've tried to be a film composer. So it's a little unfair for me to say, but from what I've heard, it's a place where there are more opportunities. Nowadays, you don't really need to be physically in a city to work in that city. You know, I have friends who are composers, who work on a lot of projects, shot and produced here in LA, but they live in Sweden and you know, or in Latin America and stuff like that. But in general, I mean, in normal circumstances, the good thing about being here is that all around you there's people who work in the film and TV industry. So like wherever you go, you can make a new contact, you know. It For instance, I mean, there's a feature film I worked on recently that hasn't come out, that the filmmaker I met at my neighbor's house, you know, like I had new neighbors. They invited us over. We didn't know anyone, my wife and I, and then there happened to be a filmmaker there, and you know, and he was looking for a composer for his new project, and you know, everything fell into place. It doesn't happen all the time. I'm not gonna say like it's super easy and like wherever you go you have new clients. It doesn't happen like that, but at least there's a potential for it to happen. A lot of times it's just like you meet someone and that person is maybe an actor, and you know, 5 years down the road, if you stay in touch, that actor friend ends up connecting you with a filmmaker friend who's looking for a composer for something, you know. So in terms of networking, it's I think the best place. It's where most of the TV and film is produced, or where at least a higher percentage of it is produced. And then in general about being a composer in LA, I guess I mean I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. I'm I was a lawyer in Venezuela, believe it or not. Yeah, I in Venezuela you can go straight from high school to law school. You know, it's not the longer process you have here. You but yeah, like I at 16 I graduated high school, went to law school for 5 years, graduated, worked for about a year and a half, and then everything while studying music at the same time. And I said, you know, like, this is not for me, you know. And I left everything behind and went to study music in Boston, and now I'm here. So I know what it is to have a different kind of job, which I respect, and I have a lot of good friends who are very happy being lawyers and doing that kind of thing. But for me, you know, like, just like dedicating my life to music is the best I can do, you know. Like, as I say, like, if you do something that you love, you don't work a day in your life. And it's true, you know. Like, there are deadlines, there's stress, there's anxiety, especially being a freelancer. It's like sometimes you're super stressed because you have so much work, and sometimes you're super anxious because you don't know where the work is going to come, and you
Right.
haven't worked in 2 months, you know.
Right.
So it's that kind of thing. But if you can find a balance within you, and you can always, like, make time to relax and accept, you know, and enjoy the time off, and find time off when you're super busy, and you if you manage all of that, it's a very nice life, I think. It's, you know, you're just making music all the time. It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, LA is a company town, really. You know, so it's like that's what a lot of this is all about here. You know, and you know, I was just thinking about after I did that thing for Disney, uh, I was referred for my first feature in '99 called Catfish and Black Bean Sauce, and that was another guy that heard something that I did for the other thing. You know, and to this day, you know, I'm working on a project now. My neighbor down the street is directing and producing. I mean, it's that kind of thing. But you got to kind of create a network, and
Mhm.
you have to be the composer has to be the guy that can make things happen. You have to be the guy that can fix it. You know, and you have to not be selfish either. Like if you run it, I've gotten network shows from a guy that was at a party who was a producer, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this song I like to put down," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, right." I didn't blow him off. I was like, "Okay, come over." And then the guy hired me to do his series. You know, I was just being nice, like he's my friend's friend. He wants to lay something down. Cool. Let's just see what happens. You know, it'll be fun. You know, we'll hang out. I'll play some drums. He'll play something. It'll be all good. Guy hired me for a series, but that doesn't always happen. Those are kind of dream stories. You know, I mean, this thing is feast or famine, right, Sandro? I mean, either you can barely keep up with the work, or you know, you're outside, you know, twiddling your thumbs, you know, hanging out.
Right. Exactly.
Or resting or cool or something else. So you gotta you know, you gotta be able to manage the extremes, you know, and kind of understand what it is, you know, without getting too stressed out about it. And it kind of
Yeah.
works.
So kind of on that note, what does your day-to-day look like, if you even have a day-to-day? I'm sure
Right.
each day looks a lot different, but
Yeah, that's for sure.
You want to start?
Well, day to day. Well, if you're on a show, then you're probably either waking up writing, or you're doing a spotting session. Maybe if that's where you meet with filmmakers or network, whatever, and you decide what's going to happen with the music. That, or you're prepping for a show, trying to create a template or a palette of sounds for the thing that's coming up, or you're doing some maintenance in your studio or installing some new things, checking out these new Atom speakers, or whatever it is you're doing, you know, to try to, because you're always trying to up your game. So the days the days, you know, you can feel every day, you know, there's always something to do. That's what I should say. There's always
Yeah.
something to do, you know, one way or the other.
And I guess a lot to that. The typical day for me when I'm working on a project, because like a lot of times it can be like says it's a different thing. But if you're on a project and maybe it's a long project, like right now I'm starting a film. It's gonna be 4 weeks of every morning. I don't wake up that early. Like I wake up at 8:30 a.m. Not super early. um like I'll have breakfast with my wife. I'll around 30 minutes after waking up, which can be 8:30 or 9, I come over to the studio. And I like to start by listening to music for a little bit. I like taking off, like 5-10 minutes of listening to other composers' music, just to, for inspiration.
Absolutely.
I
That's
I I don't like while I'm writing, I don't like listening to music, at the same time, because then you're influenced by the music, and that's not the idea. I mean,
right.
I like to find inspiration. Just saying, oh, because a lot of times I tend to get like stressed about the deadline and all, and I see this mountain of music that I still have to write and all this stuff. And listening to other composers, I mean it opens up my mind. A lot of times it's like I can easily get stuck because I my mind doesn't let me think of the myriad of possibilities, and I'm stuck with, like, I either do this or that, and that's it.
Right.
Writing, uh writing wise, and listening to other composers lets me just lets my mind free, and lets me explore more possibilities. And then
Right.
when I'm writing, I feel more free, and I'm more open to experiment and to try different things.
Right.
um
Right.
but and then, yeah, just like I try to, it depends. I mean, I always say my inspiration is a check. It's which is it's a bad joke, but um it's not really like that. I mean, we do, I don't think that inspiration is a myth. I think that sometimes you're more into it. Sometimes you're more susceptible to writing better music, and it comes out more, easily. And I can write 3 hours straight without taking a break, and then
Right.
maybe I'll have lunch. Then I'll come back and write another 2 hours, and then force myself to take a break. But I want to be here, and I want to be writing, and this music comes out, if very easily. And
Right.
then a lot of days it's really hard and it's a struggle. It's like I'm
Absolutely.
fighting with myself to
Right.
keep me sitting here. And I'm like checking the soccer scores and
Right.
like checking
Distraction.
Facebook, and
Yeah.
I have like a soccer game playing in the background, and like I'm
That's when
doing
you
what.
know you're struggling. When you got other stuff in the background and all, you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. And I'm like, I think it's a good time to walk the dog.
right.
And
I think it's good. I like to kind of, and I didn't mention this, but I like to usually start my day with a little exercise because I
that's
found
good.
out that helps, like,
Yeah,
level you out, give you some energy.
Mhm.
Come back home, have breakfast, recover,
yeah,
feel pretty good about yourself, and then maybe you got to start a little earlier to get that in. But it
yeah,
always seems to pay off later because you
yeah.
kind of get that second boost. The afterburners kick in, and and then you're ready to go. But there's
That's
days when you struggle. I mean, there's days when you struggle, man, and you know what? You just you gotta push through it. You know,
Yeah.
it's
and
normal.
sometimes you wake up in the morning and you listen to the thing you wrote and go, "Oh, that is crap."
It happens,
Who did that?
unfortunately. Yes. Yeah.
So but then there's the inspiration for you to redo that and make it right.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So I have a question. What was it like watching back your first show that you worked on?
Oh,
Oh man.
man.
Uh well, I'll start. There was this well, not my first, but my second TV movie. Like I very early on, I had a chance to score two TV movies. One was a Christmas movie, which I still listen to it, and I find good things about it. Like it's not something that I would put in my reel right now, but because again, you're constantly evolving and learning and doing better, writing better music, hopefully. Um, but then the second one, I don't know, man. They gave me like 3 weeks to write like 70 minutes of music.
Oh my God.
The movie was terrible. It was awful. It was so bad.
Yeah.
And everything, the story, the acting, the writing, everything was so bad. And which is worse because like you have 3 weeks and you have to write for something that doesn't inspire you at all. Like you feel like there's no way to fix this movie with your music, which is what they're asking you to do.
Yeah.
So it's like double pressure. um yeah it was awful. It was terrible. And I listened to it and I'm like, oh man, like yeah, that was bad. Yeah. I don't know if I could do a better job today with that movie. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
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 Well, once it leaves the studio, once it leaves your studio, it's gone, man. I mean,
Starting to roll, yeah.
I have a couple. One of the first features I scored, I invited like all my friends, some college professors, family, went to ArcLight, sat kind of in the front. And the thing is, the sound is so big in the theater. And I was
Mm.
just sitting there going, I mean, I swear I probably lost 5 pounds sitting there waiting for this thing.
That's
Because you go to the final mix, maybe not, and you don't know what happened, and then
Yeah.
you hear it, and it was pretty good. It wasn't bad. I didn't have a big budget, but I made it work. And this is a piece of advice I would say to someone starting out. I know in the beginning you're struggling, but I used every nickel they gave me to do the score, and it wasn't much, but a lot of people, if you live in LA, people will do you favors. You musicians, friends along the way, they're trying to help you out. They'll come over and play if it's not a union thing, and you're just like, hey man, I need you to play these,
Mhm.
So that was pretty cool. And then the next one I think about, which scared the crap out of me, was when I got the Bernie Mac show.
Mm.
And that, he's such a big, figure and a celeb. And the first, and I also wrote the theme. So when that thing hit, it was, and on TV, it sounded so loud. Like, and I just sat there and went, it was all of 14 seconds, but I was like, wow, I think that was pretty cool. I'm not sure, but I think it was cool. So yeah, you never know. And then sometimes you work on a project, and if you're not at the final mix, it is what it is, man. You did what it may, you may have written one thing, but they may have made some adjustments and some levels that maybe you didn't necessarily approve of.
Yeah.
Which you don't always have control of that. So
Yeah.
especially
Especially these days, where you can't physically be in the mix.
Yeah.
You can't fight for your music.
You can't
It
sit
happened
there
to
and
me.
go, turn the
It
strings
happened to
back
me.
up. Nope.
Yeah, like in when best in an orchestra for this project and all this stuff, and we tweak the mix a million times, and then it goes to the mix, and they lower the music because for whatever reason, and yeah.
Well, because music is so subjective, One filmmaker might love strings, and the other guy, hates drums,
Yeah.
So you sit there and try to, and you have to be diplomatic because you are working for them. So
Yeah.
you sit there, and then if you have a filmmaker that really is used to you and comfortable with what you do, he'll look to you and go, "Hey, Sandra, what do you think about the mix?" And then you can politely say, "It's great, except for that one part, man. If we could just, And they, okay, yeah, right, I get that. Okay, cool. So that's what
Right.
you hope for, anyway.
Yeah.
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 Is there anything cool that you guys are working on right now or have recently just worked on that y'all can talk about?
You want to start?
Yeah. I got two documentaries actually I'm working on. One that me and my wife are producing, that's really cool. That's coming out really cool. And then another thing I started, the Betty Saar story. It's a doc about this famous African American artist, assemblage artist, and it's really cool. That's gonna be that's gonna be some really cool score. Got some really cool players. It's kind of a hybrid jazz thing, kind of. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's gonna be. We had kind of had to stop because of the pandemic. We kind of had to stop in the middle, but it's gearing back up again. So looking forward to that, and a couple other things in the fire that I'm working on, and hopefully, everything kind of took a bit of a pause in some areas. So, but things are ramping up again. So, I'm hopeful.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I I recently got to score a really cool project with Marvel Animation, um, which was a trip. Like it's not a huge project, but it gave me the opportunity to write for Venom, which is one of my favorite characters in Marvel since I was a kid. And like Spider-Man is in it, and Captain America and stuff. So yeah, and I got to record with a 60-piece orchestra for that. That was a lot of fun. And mixing it with synthesizers, which is another one of my passions. Um, so that was pretty cool. Then recently I finished a Christmas film that's coming out in a couple of days on TV. And I also got to record a smaller orchestra, but yeah, we recorded like a 30-piece strings ensemble and woodwinds and stuff. And and I have something. Well, there's another an indie film that's more of a festival piece that I'm working on with a Venezuelan director. It's a very young, super talented director, and she made a film about the political situation in Venezuela in sort of a satirical way, in the vein of the Death of Stalin. I don't know if you watched that film, but I loved it.
Yeah.
It's at a smaller smaller. It's a smaller thing, a smaller size project, but still, it's a very smartly written project that I'm super looking forward to having it completed and have it come out.
Great.
Awesome. Sounds like you guys are doing loads of different things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a few more viewer questions. Here's a good one from Andrew. Is there any composers of the past that have inspired you guys?
Oh man, everybody, anybody from Quincy Jones to Isaac Hayes to John Williams to, Ennio. I mean, man, it's anything that you hear that moves you, man, is an inspiration, I don't, even if it's someone who's new, just he said from the past. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty there from the past to check out, listen to everything is what I would say, So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I same here. I mean, I love I mean, John Williams is like the patron saint of film composers.
Right.
How can you not love the guy? He's amazing. He's an amazing composer, an amazing person. Um there's I mean, I love Terence Blanchard's music.
Great.
So inspiring, and he's also such a beautiful person. Right now, I mean, John Powell is
absolutely.
It's someone who inspires me. I got the book, the full score for his How to Train Your Dragon soundtrack, and it's so much to learn in one book. It's amazing in one score. And I love what Ludwig Göransson is doing. I love what Chris Bowers is doing. Like with Green Book. And like it's our president, our CDC president, Michael Abels. Man, I mean, it's just such a new voice. It's such a different thing what he's doing with Jordan Peele's Us and Get Out, and then Bad Education and all of these other projects that he's working on. He's amazing.
Absolutely.
No, I think there are incredible composers out there. Well, and just to mention a couple more, Amanda Jones, I love what she's doing on TV. And Laura Cartman, I absolutely love her music. So yeah, if you don't know any of these composers, please do yourself a favor and check them out.
Absolutely, for sure.
Great. Here's a more technical question for you guys.
Mhm.
When submitting tracks, are they mastered ready versions, or in some cases, do you submit stems?
So in my case, it's always stems. I master tracks. I would master if I'm releasing a soundtrack, but in general, yeah, like if something is it's tricky. If it's more of a song or something that's gonna be like maybe the main title that's already been approved, something like that, I might process it a little bit with mastering. But most of the time, my projects, they ask for stems. The filmmaker wants to have, if it's a film or a TV show, they want to have stems so that in the final mix they have some control. They don't have to call me, in the middle of the mix and say, hey, can you readjust the mix here and there, or do this so that it works better with dialogue. Or because things happen, like a filmmaker may insist in having a melody or here or a cowbell or whatever there, and then in the middle of the mix they realize, oh, this thing I pushed
Right.
for doesn't actually work.
Right.
I should have listened to my composer or whatever.
Right.
Or it can be our fault, like, oh, that composer insisted so much in keeping this melody and I knew it wouldn't work, and
Right.
now I'm stuck with it. They're not stuck with it if they have stems. They can just like mute or lower the volume or whatever. And it's also a great resource for the mix so that they don't lower your whole track.
Mhm.
Which is what we discussed before. If they have the stems, I mean, if they don't have stems and the music is somehow fighting with dialogue or anything, they're gonna lower the whole track or completely erase it, from existence.
Yeah.
If they have stems, they might adjust the mix and make it work.
Right. Right. Yeah. Typically, stems are great in the if you're in that space of a feature or something like that,
Yeah.
where there's a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
Stems are a must almost, because you don't, if there's explosions or something like that, you're not going to win against the explosion. So forget
Exactly.
that. Our car chase, they may want to crank something. So
Yeah.
there you go. Stems are important. What I like to do, if I'm submitting stems, I will send them my mix along with that, my stereo version. What I think,
Mhm.
what I think based on, locking this to picture and working with this particular scene. And I'll, even if I make adjustments in volumes and things, I'll give them my mix and go, this is what I think should be,
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of reference, if they like you, they'll listen to it at least, but
Yeah.
if a filmmaker or director stands up and screams, turn that damn thing down, then that's what's going to happen, so stems are great. And typically in TV, a lot of times you can get away with stereo mix once everybody kind of knows what we're doing,
Right.
or maybe you'll submit 2 stereo mixes, one that's hot, this one has hot drums, and this one doesn't,
Yeah.
The more they don't mess with it, the better off you are, typically,
Yeah.
so you don't want to give them any reason to start grabbing, knobs and twisting things. If you
Exactly.
can, but you're working for the client, so you got to deliver what they want,
Yeah.
You don't want anybody calling you in the middle of a mix, hey, we need stems, so
Right. Yeah.
that's the worst.
Awesome. Well, there you go, Donald. Another great question. Do you guys get the movie without the dialogue, or do you want the effects box, etc.?
No, we need everything. I mean, we need effects of dialogue, all of that. We need it so that, because that's gonna influence the music. Like Stan said, like if you have an explosion, you don't want. You don't want to create something without listening to the explosion, and you swear that your beautiful music is gonna come out. It's not gonna come out. I mean, there's no way you're gonna
Never
you're gonna
hear it.
win. Yeah. So like ideally, part of what you learn as a composer is that you have to write around dialogue and around sound effects,
Absolutely.
so that to make sure that your music doesn't get just lowered in the mix, or doesn't get buried in by the sound effects, and that it doesn't fight the dialogue, because at the end of the day, we our art as film composers is in service of another art, which is filmmaking. And the sooner you realize and accept that absolute truth, that it's not about your music,
Right.
it's about the film. The filmmaker, if it's a writer director, they've been with this baby for years, writing it and rewriting it and fighting for it, finding the money, making it happen, production, pre-production, production, post-production, editing, all of this stuff. And when it gets to you,
Right.
they don't, like you have to make sure you do good by them. You respect the story, you write something that works for the dialogue, for the effects, for the intention of the director. That's what's most important.
Yeah, I like to hear everything. I want everything. I want to know
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you have to put yourself in the sense of like, okay, this is going to be the finished product. What I'm doing here, this all has to work together. The music has to work with what's the story, has to work with what's on the screen, has to work with the effects,
Yeah.
all of that. You got to totally take your ego out of that part of it,
Yeah.
because you can have this great melody, like Sandro said, and then the truck goes by. It's like, okay, well, that didn't work. So,
Yeah.
you gotta respect what's already there, and you gotta be part of the process. You gotta help tell the story. You're not gonna be the story. You gotta kind of complement and support the story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about gear.
Yeah.
What is the importance of studio monitors and what you guys do, and like what do you look for in a monitor? All those things.
Go ahead, Sandro.
Okay. So it just so happens that both Stan and I use the Adam A7X. Yes. I've been using them since, I don't know how long ago, a bunch of years ago, when they just came out with this newer version, with the yellow tweets and
Ribbon tweeter, yeah.
the ribbon, so I absolutely love them. I think, first off, I mean, to talk about the importance, it's crucial. I mean, before these monitors, I was using monitors that weren't giving me a good enough reference, and that can affect your music so much, because you are creating something that you have an idea of what it sounds like, but what the rest of the people listening to it, that's not what they're hearing. Because your monitors might be boosting the bass, or it might be cutting some of the high end, and then like when you listen in good monitors, it's something else. There are frequencies there that you just can't hear with your crappy monitors. And when I say crappy, I don't mean necessarily cheap, because you might have expensive monitors that just not good, that boost frequencies and that are not professional, the way they should be. So no, I think it's crucial. You were gonna say something, Stan?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, that's exactly what you're saying. You need something that sounds really not necessarily flat, but it needs to be realistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because when you turn those mixes in, man, you don't get to. There's no do-over usually. And if there's different kind of speakers. There's speakers that give you hype. You got a room full of people in the studio. You want boom, boom. You want the bass. You want the 808s cracking. Or if in film and TV, it's not about that. It's about this has to sound good.
Yeah.
And if monitors aren't any good, you're going to do a bad mix probably, because you're going to go play. They're going to play that on the stage, and it's going to be like, what the hell's going on there? So these Adams, I mean, they're great. They're punchy. but at the same time, they're clean, and you hear what you hear is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what you have to go for, especially in the film and TV world. You know, in the record situation, it might be different because there's room for a little more personality with mixes.
Yeah.
Not, you know, like I said, I mean, you're a team player with film and TV, so the music needs to it needs to fit right in its frequency and where it's supposed to go. I just see Lincoln Kilpatrick up there. That's one of my old guys who uses Love Anime. He's a great guy, Lincoln.
Hi, Lincoln. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Lincoln's another OG from LA.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Let's take another question. We have one from our Instagram account asking, I don't know how to get this to pop up. Anyways, do you guys use any plugins, or do you have any suggestions for like the best free plugins?
Sure. I mean, lots of plugins. We use lots of plugins for everything. I mean, these days, composers, a lot of what we do, we have to mix ourselves, because it might be a thing about budget sometimes. Some projects don't have the budget. Some projects don't have the time for you to like send your music to a mixer. You know, like you just have to, since you're, you know, with technology, you tend to be in constant communication with a director or with a producer. They're constantly listening to your stuff. So once it's approved, it's approved. You don't want to touch anything. You don't want to, you know. So like, I mean, ideally, I like working with a mixer, but yeah, at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff I have to mix myself. But going back to the question, best free plugins, I love everything that Valhalla makes. You know, they have a free plugin called Supermassive, which I think is very, very, very useful. And then like for like $50, they have a room emulation or something like that. I know that I think Isotope has one called Vinyl that is free as well. If you need like vinyl noises and warping and that kind of stuff, it's great. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff out there for sure.
Yeah. I kind of use a lot of the same stuff Sandro's talking about. I say if a plugin is free, man, get it. You know, plugins can be your best friend, and if they're inexpensive, you know, try some, because you know you might create something new that might become part of your new sound too. You know, so you know, try it out, man, because like a lot of times, like you said, Sandro said, you know, if you end up mixing yourself, I mean, I love having a mixer, you know, because mixing is like everything, really. It really is. I mean, plus me coming from the record world, you know, mixing is really everything, because you know, every guy has his own vibe with the mix, and if it ain't happening, you know, in 5 seconds. So yeah, try anything that you can get your hands on. Try it. I mean, if you spend a couple of dollars on it, you don't love it, I mean, that's part of the game, you know. Maybe you can use it for something else later down the road, you know. But whatever you can get to help you, and whatever's going to help you create a sound and make things sound great and polished, then you know, go for it. Give it a shot.
Awesome. And I think we have one last question.
Cool.
Do you collaborate with different composers / orchestras around the world? It sounds like yes, I would assume.
I think Sandro's done more of that than me personally.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I collaborate with many people. Both I sometimes, you know, like I have friends in the collective who might have a project, and they can't handle all the work they have, and they call me over and say, hey, you want to take a couple of, you know, like 5 minutes of music from my project and write it and blah blah blah, and I'll do that for them, and then they will do it for me. I have very talented composer friends in all the parts of the world for sure who have written music for my projects. It's something that happens, you know. It's like the deadlines are so short. Yeah, and then orchestras all the time. Like a lot of the projects I work in, the budget, you know, like recording here in LA is so expensive that, you know, a lot. But I love recording with orchestra. So, you know, like the best option I have at this point in my career, a lot of times it's just recording overseas. I have a lot of experience recording with Skopje, with Fame Orchestra in Macedonia.
Right.
I love those guys, and then there's another orchestra in Budapest, Hungary, that I work with all the time, and I'm recording for a project coming up soon. And yeah, I mean, it's a great option. They're super professional. They have all of the best equipment, and yeah, they'll you contact them and they'll make it happen for a much reduced budget compared to LA.
Right. Yeah. I haven't gone down that road yet. I mean, where we use a virtual orchestra like that. I collaborate a lot of times with players. There's a lot of players that I came up with that used to live here in LA that I love their playing. Maybe they moved out or, moved across the country. And, so it's easy to do a remote session. And we're all doing a lot of that now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of collaborating like that, and I do that all the time because there's, there's no need not to use somebody you want to use just because they're not. And plus, right now, we can't get together with anybody, really. I mean, you can. Some people are recording safely, but it depends on what it is. You can get somebody to record virtually, and it's not a problem. But I say collaborate. Whoever your people are, man, find them and do it. Whatever it is, make it happen.
I mean, this
we
day,
got the technology, just do it, man.
There's so much talent, and I love just like calling my friends here in LA. There's so many incredible musicians who are like Stan said, they will pop up Zoom, and you get like a audio movers or some kind of plugin that lets you listen to them in real time in high quality, and you produce a session from your home. It's great.
And I love the surprise sometimes of sending somebody a chart and something to play, and you're not there. Like, I don't even want to be on the Zoom.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting most of the time to hear their interpretation after your instructions and the chart. It's like, oh wow, I never thought of that. Like, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. You never know when you're gonna get back.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for joining us and letting me and everyone else watching pick your brains about what you guys do. Once again, if anyone is interested in joining or just learning more about the Composers Diversity Collective, the website is right there, and it's also in the comments section on our Facebook and YouTube.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. Adam Audio, thank you so much for having us and letting us speak about the Composers Diversity Collective.
Absolutely. Yeah, shout out to Michael Abels, our fearless leader at the CDC, and our executive committee that helps make it all roll. And thanks to Kelsey and Adam and everybody for their support. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. And have a great Christmas and New Year, and try to still have some fun, even though you guys are pretty locked down in LA.
For sure, you do.
Hopefully next time we speak, life will be more back to normal.
We won't have our mask on.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Okay, cool.
Awesome. You guys have a great afternoon.
You too. Take care. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye.